What happened to one of the most famous musicians of that era, Glenn Miller? His disappearance during a flight over the English Channel in 1944 remains an unsolved mystery to this very day. Why did the infamous Japanese General Yamashita hide a treasure of gold and riches at the end of the war? They say the legend surrounding it has driven countless adventurers to search for what could become one of the largest treasures ever discovered. But the story doesn't end there. Have you heard of Patton's Ghost Army? It wasn't a real army at all, yet it managed to completely fool the Nazis and played a key role in the success of the Normandy landings. It's astonishing to think how cunning and pure intellect can change the course of history. And then there's the Amber Room, a treasure of Russian culture that vanished during the war. What secrets does this lost masterpiece hold? The search for the truth behind its disappearance has equally captivated historians and treasure hunters. Another fascinating enigma is the Nazi bell. They say this German device possessed extraordinary properties. What experiments were carried out with this machine, and what secrets does it still conceal? The USS Indianapolis is yet another tragic chapter in this story. Its secret mission to deliver components of the atomic bomb ended in disaster, leaving countless unanswered questions. How could a ship of such importance simply vanish without a trace? And when we talk about unidentified flying objects, we cannot forget the Kecksburg incident of 1965. A strange object crashed in Pennsylvania, and many believe it was somehow connected to the war. What really lies behind that event? The disappearance of Flight 19 is another mysterious tale. 5 U.S. Navy aircraft vanished in the Bermuda Triangle, leaving behind nothing but questions. What actually happened to them? There are also ghost stories from the war. What can be said about the planes and ships that disappeared without a trace? They gave birth to legends of phantom aircraft and vessels still haunting the skies and seas. Our imagination runs wild the moment we hear these tales. Then there's Operation High Jump, the controversial 1946 mission to Antarctica. What were the real objectives of that expedition? Some believe the secrets hidden in the ice go far beyond simple scientific exploration. The submarine U-47 is yet another of those mysteries that make us wonder about the fate of the people on board. How could such a famous U-boat disappear without a trace, and what stories lie hidden in its depths? Foo Fighters, the unidentified flying objects pilots reported during the war, still raise questions. What exactly were those mysterious lights? The confusion and astonishment of the airmen live on in our collective memory. Rudolf Hess's bizarre mission to Scotland has not been forgotten either. What drove Hitler's second-in-command to fly alone into enemy territory? Opinions about his journey are as varied as the story itself. And finally, the hunt for the Nazi gold train, a legendary train loaded with riches, believed to have been hidden somewhere in Poland. Where is this lost treasure, and what secrets might it still hold? By exploring these mysteries, we touch the very essence of human curiosity. World War II was not only a war of battles and strategies, it was a stage where the inexplicable and the extraordinary intertwined. Let us embark together on this journey into the unknown. Together we will uncover stories that still call to us from the shadows of the past. The disappearance of Glenn Miller is one such mystery, a mystery that fascinates historians and music lovers alike. But what really happened to this legendary musician and bandleader during World War II? The story begins in 1944. That year, Glenn Miller, famous for hits like "In the Mood," decided to enlist in the United States Army. He wanted to boost the morale of the troops with his music, but his life took a dramatic turn. On December 15, 1944, Miller boarded a U.S. Army Air Force's aircraft in England, heading to France. The destination was clear, but the outcome became one of history's greatest enigmas. Why did he never reach his destination? What exactly happened during that flight over the English Channel? Theories range from terrible weather to a possible enemy attack, but the truth remains unknown. Miller's last radio message was short and calm. Yet, moments after takeoff, the aircraft vanished without a trace. Could it have simply crashed into the sea? For decades, searches were conducted in that area, but no wreckage of the plane, and certainly no trace of Miller himself, was ever found. This vacuum gave rise to countless speculations about his fate, each spawning more questions than answers. Some believe the plane may have been sunk by a German U-boat. Others insist the atrocious weather played the decisive role. Could one of the most celebrated musicians of his time really have perished in the very sea he had crossed so many times to bring joy to the troops? The uncertainty surrounding his disappearance fuels conspiracy theories and strange tales to this day. Years have passed, and Glenn Miller's fame has only grown. They say his music still lives in the hearts of those who hear it, but his own story remains unfinished. Why does his vanishing continue to captivate us after all these years? Perhaps because it reveals the human cost of war, how even the brightest stars can disappear into the darkness in an instant. Although no hard evidence exists, several theories about his fate have been put forward. Some claim he might have survived and joined the resistance. Others insist he was captured by German forces. Could the man who united millions with his music have found a new purpose in the midst of chaos? The quest for answers has driven researchers and fans to examine every possible clue. Yet most accounts of his disappearance are riddled with contradictions and empty conjecture. Why is there not a single witness who can tell us what really happened? Is the mystery so profound that it has become part of his legend? Glenn Miller's influence on music and his contribution to troop morale during the war are undeniable. His unique style and ability to connect with people made him a superstar. But in the end, his life was cut short abruptly. Millions of fans were left wondering, what might have been? Indeed, Glenn Miller's disappearance stands as a stark reminder of how war can upend anyone's life. One moment he was the undisputed king of swing, the next he became a shadow. The story of his loss remains a tale of mystery, an echo of lives cut short and dreams unfulfilled against the backdrop of war's destruction. For many years, memorial concerts and tributes have been held in his honor, yet the desire to uncover the truth endures. How far will his admirers go to learn what really happened? Every year new theories emerge, keeping the fascination with his true fate alive. Ultimately, Glenn Miller's story is not just that of a musician. It is a reflection of the mystery and tragedy that accompany war. How many similar stories remain buried in time, forever untold? It reminds us that even those who seem invincible can vanish in the blink of an eye. Glenn Miller's music lives on, resonating through the waves of our collective memory, while his disappearance remains a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Perhaps, deep down, it is this very uncertainty that makes him a legend. The search for the truth about his fate continues, and with it, the legacy of a man who left an indelible mark on history. Among the many secrets and mysteries of World War II, few are as captivating as the lost treasure of Yamashita. Who was this Japanese general, and why is his name tied to one of the war's most enthralling legends? General Tomoyuki Yamashita, known as the Tiger of Malaya, commanded Japanese forces in Southeast Asia and led the conquest of the Philippines. But as the war drew to a close, a disturbing rumor began to spread: an immense treasure, brimming with gold, precious gems, and priceless riches, had been hidden somewhere in the Philippines. Where did all this wealth come from? The story goes that the treasure consisted of loot systematically plundered by the Japanese during their campaigns, gold stolen from banks in conquered nations, jewels ripped from temples and private homes. The riches had been accumulating for years. Realizing defeat was near, Yamashita allegedly decided to hide this hoard, hoping to keep it out of Allied hands and preserve his legacy. But where exactly did he conceal it? There are countless theories about the treasure's location. Some say it was buried in secret caves, others claim it was loaded onto a train and sent to a remote hiding place. A remote location. Nevertheless, despite countless expeditions and attempts to locate it over many years, Yamashita's treasure remains an enigma. Why is it so impossibly hard to find? Could there truly be a curse that protects this hoard from greedy treasure hunters? With the end of the war, American forces occupied the Philippines, and the hunt for the treasure intensified. Adventurers, archaeologists, and fortune seekers rushed in to search for the lost gold. Yet what they usually found was disappointment rather than riches. Some claimed to have uncovered clues, while others encountered only deadly booby traps and local legends. Could the treasure be hidden in a place beyond human understanding, known only to the gods themselves? One of the most fascinating aspects of this story is the role the legend of Yamashita's treasure has played in popular culture. From movies to books, the quest for this lost fortune has captured the imagination of millions. Why does a simple tale continue to enchant people so powerfully? Perhaps it's the promise of unimaginable wealth, or the hope of rediscovering a forgotten piece of history. Some researchers have tried to crack the mystery using modern technology, metal detectors, ground-penetrating radar, sonar. Still, the dense jungles and rugged terrain of the Philippines have proven formidable obstacles. Maybe Yamashita's treasure is guarded not only by nature, but by the ghosts of the past. Many believe the exact locations were passed down orally from father to son. Others insist that those who knew the secret took it with them to the grave. The search has also left a trail of tragedies. Entire teams have perished under mysterious circumstances. Could the treasure really be cursed, bringing misfortune to anyone who dares disturb it? The stories of these expeditions are often as gripping as the hunt itself, and many remain alive in the memories of those who heard them. Decades later, interest in Yamashita's treasure has not faded. There are still people today who believe the lost gold can be found. Online forums and dedicated groups exist where enthusiasts share theories and experiences that keep the flame burning. Perhaps it's the thought that this treasure could change their lives forever, or simply the desire to solve a riddle that has endured for so long. And while the tale of Yamashita's lost treasure is thrilling, it also raises deeper questions about greed and human desire. What would you be willing to do for riches? The search has forced many not only to explore the physical world, but to examine their own conscience and moral limits. What does gold really mean when weighed against life and history? In the end, Yamashita's treasure is more than just a story about the pursuit of wealth. It is a reminder of the echoes of war, of decisions made in moments of desperation, and of how those choices continue to affect us today. As long as people keep searching, the treasure becomes a symbol of what can be lost and what can be gained, both materially and spiritually. Thus, the story of Yamashita's lost treasure remains a captivating mystery. With every new expedition, interest is reignited in what really happened and what might still lie buried beneath Philippine soil. What will be the ultimate fate of this treasure? Will its hiding place ever be revealed, or will it remain forever a legend in which the shadows of the past blend seamlessly with the present? The answer, like so many stories from World War II, remains shrouded in mystery. Are you curious how a completely fake army managed to fool one of the most powerful regimes in history? The next story we're about to explore is the astonishing tale of Patton's Ghost Army. It was a cunning deception plan that played a crucial role in the success of D-Day. Everything began before the Allied invasion of Normandy, a decisive moment in World War II. The Allied commanders knew that the success of the operation depended heavily on diverting the Nazis' attention. They needed something far more convincing than simply moving real troops and equipment. How could they create an illusion so believable that it would fool the German high command? The answer was the creation of a phantom army, an entire force of soldiers that never actually existed. Imagine a whole army that was pure fiction. That is exactly what General George S. Patton and his team achieved. Using a combination of deception tactics, cutting-edge technology for the time, and a huge dose of creativity, Patton and his unit managed to the Nazis believe. They became convinced that a massive army was preparing to strike across the Pas-de-Calais, not on the beaches of Normandy. And how was this audacious operation carried out? The key to success was the creation of a completely fictional unit called the 1st U.S. Army Group, FUSAG. Every detail was meticulously planned, from the names of officers to the constant, visible, movement of non-existent troops. Inflatable tanks, wooden aircraft, dummy trucks and landing craft were deployed. The idea was simple yet brilliant: make it look so real that the Germans had no reason to doubt it. Psychological warfare played a huge role. Did you know they even broadcast fake radio traffic? These simulated conversations convinced the Germans that real formations were massing and preparing to attack. On top of that, carefully crafted reports were deliberately leaked to German intelligence, all pointing to a huge buildup in the Pas-de-Calais area. What was the result? The Germans shifted divisions and resources to the wrong place, leaving Normandy dangerously underdefended. And who was the mastermind behind this daring plan? None other than the brilliant strategist General George S. Patton. Despite his reputation as a fierce, aggressive battlefield commander, he also knew exactly how to play with the enemy's mind. The operation proved his ability to think outside the box and wield deception as a weapon of war. Isn't it incredible how creativity and strategy can be more powerful than brute force on the battlefield? On June 6, 1944, as Allied troops stormed the Normandy beaches, the 1st U.S. Army Group remained nothing but a mirage. The Germans were certain the real invasion was still coming at Pas-de-Calais. They were caught completely off guard. Can you imagine the chaos and disbelief in German headquarters when they realized they'd been tricked? Yet, Patton's Ghost Army, officially Operation Fortitude, was not just a stroke of luck. It required meticulous planning and seamless cooperation between multiple intelligence agencies. The combination of visual and psychological deception achieved what many thought impossible. Why don't we hear more about this revolutionary strategy? Perhaps because history tends to celebrate battles and visible heroes, while the invisible tricks, the ones that often decide the outcome, stay in the shadows. But the impact was enormous. D-Day became the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, and without the diversion created by the Phantom Army, the outcome could have been very different. How can we apply these lessons of deception and strategy in everyday life? Patton's Ghost Army reminds us that sometimes the best way to win isn't through raw power, but through cunning and creativity. Building an entire imaginary army forces us to think about the sheer power of perception. What other stories of deception and illusion have left their mark on history? From stage magic to political schemes, humanity has proven time and again that perception can be stronger than reality, on the battlefield and in ordinary life alike. Maybe we can all create our own little ghost armies when needed. As we dive deeper into World War II history, it's fascinating to see how such tactics continue to evolve. Patton's Ghost Army was not only a military triumph, it was a perfect example of how innovation can alter the course of history. It leaves us with a tantalizing question: what other surprises does history still hold that we haven't discovered yet? In the end, the story of the Phantom Army invites us to look beyond mere facts and figures. It reminds us that behind every victory lies a tale of strategy and deception. This story deserves to be told. War is not just fields of battle, it's a complex web of human decisions and clever ruses. How many more secrets of World War II are still waiting to be uncovered? History is full of mysteries, and each one has the power to change our understanding of what really happened. If you're enjoying this journey through the universe of mysteries and want to keep exploring the secrets of the cosmos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. What happened to the Amber Room? It is one of the most breathtaking wonders of art in history, a treasure that vanished without a trace during World War II. Created in the 18th century, it was an entire chamber paneled with amber, gold leaf, and mirrors, an extravagant gift from the King of Prussia to Peter the Great of Russia. But how could something so priceless be lost in such a devastating war? In 1941, when German troops invaded the Soviet Union, the Amber Room was housed in the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo, just outside St. Petersburg. Who could have imagined that this place, brimming with beauty and art, would become a prime target for Nazi greed? As their armies advanced, the Amber Room was looted. In the chaos of war, it simply vanished. What did the Soviet authorities do when the threat approached? They tried to hide the room by dismantling its panels and shipping them to supposedly safe locations. But where exactly were those safe places? Despite all efforts, the Amber Room fell into German hands. It is said to have been transported to Königsberg, now Kaliningrad, where it was lost forever. What theories exist about what happened to the Amber Room after it disappeared? Some believe it was destroyed during the heavy Allied bombing of Königsberg at the war's end. Others insist it was never destroyed at all and remains hidden somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered. How far can human desire go when such priceless treasures are at stake? The search for the lost chamber has become a monumental quest. For decades, expeditions and archaeological digs have been mounted in the hope of locating it. What have been the most tantalizing discoveries? In 1996, a group of treasure hunters claimed to have found fragments of the room in an old warehouse, but the authenticity was fiercely disputed. The myth of the Amber Room lives on, fueling the passion of historians and adventurers alike. What would it mean for the world of art if such a monumental piece were ever returned? The hunt has inspired countless books, movies, and documentaries, all trying to unravel the mystery surrounding this lost masterpiece. But why is the Amber Room so important? Beyond its monetary value, it represents a direct link to history, a symbol of culture and human creativity. Its disappearance is not merely a loss to art, it is a stark reminder of what war can destroy. How could something so exquisite become a victim of plunder and devastation? The stories of those who saw it for the last time are equally fascinating. Palace workers and the lucky few who beheld its splendor left behind accounts that enriched the mystery. What memories lingered in their minds? Some spoke in awe of the way light danced across the amber. Others whispered of the centuries of history embedded in every panel. The search for the Amber Room continues. New clues surface from time to time. With advancing technology, modern search methods, ground-penetrating radar, sonar, archival research, are being employed. Perhaps one day soon its hiding place will finally be revealed. The mere possibility keeps the flame alive for many. Moreover, the Amber Room has become more than a physical object. It has turned into a symbol of art's resilience in the face of war's horrors. How can art endure through generations even when its physical form is gone? The story of this lost treasure stands as proof of the enduring power and tenacity of culture. As we delve deeper into the enigma of the Amber Room, we confront questions that go far beyond simple curiosity. What does the search for a lost treasure really mean? Perhaps it reminds us that even in the darkest chapters of history, the human drive for beauty and connection to our past never dies. The room may be lost, but its legacy lives on. The fascination with the unknown and the longing to reclaim what once was remain strong in our collective memory. What other mysteries does history still hold for us? The Amber Room is just one of the many enigmas left by World War II, and its pursuit continues to inspire everyone bold enough to explore the unknown. Thus, the story of the Amber Room becomes a mirror of what we have lost and what we may yet recover. In every search, in every retelling, there is a spark, a reminder that whatever has been created can, in some way, be brought back to life. The Nazi bell, sometimes called Die Glock, is one of the most intriguing mysteries of Nazi Germany. But what exactly was this enigmatic machine? Rumors claim it was a device with extraordinary. Some theorists speculate that the device may have been linked to experiments in anti-gravity flight or even time manipulation. But what evidence exists to back up such claims? Rumors about the bell began circulating in the 1940s, when certain German scientists started working on cutting-edge, highly secretive technologies. Could Die Glock have been the result of those efforts? Some insist the project was driven by the Nazis' desperate hunger for wonder weapons that could turn the tide of the war. Yet the almost complete lack of official records makes the idea extremely difficult to verify. Why would such a massive project leave so few traces? It is said the device was tested at a clandestine facility somewhere in present-day Poland. But what became of it? As Allied forces closed in, many of these projects became top-priority targets for evacuation. Some believe Die Glock was disassembled and hidden so it wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Is it possible that the machine really existed and is still concealed somewhere? Eyewitness accounts from those who claim to have seen Die Glock vary wildly. Some described strange humming sounds, others spoke of bizarre phenomena, glowing lights in the sky, plants dying instantly around the test site, even people suffering strange illnesses. Might these stories contain a kernel of truth? Science has advanced enormously since then, yet Nazi technology remains shrouded in mystery. What secrets was it truly hiding? And what about the scientists supposedly involved? Many vanished after the war, leaving countless unanswered questions. Most were whisked away to the United States or the Soviet Union under programs like Operation Paperclip to continue their research. The theory that Die Glock was simply a failed experiment is intriguing, but it doesn't explain why fascination with it persists, or why popular culture keeps feeding the myth. UFO researchers have also found the Bell legend irresistible. Some claim, and documentaries, claim the object was linked to wartime UFO sightings. A few even suggest Nazi breakthroughs may have been aided by extraterrestrial knowledge. The idea sounds insane, yet it has been explored in books, films, and documentaries, adding fuel to the enigma. As the Cold War heated up, interest in Die Glock never waned. Investigators dug through archives and interviewed survivors, giving birth to new theories. Could it have been a free energy device? Some believe the Nazis were closer than anyone realized to unlocking alternative power sources. Whatever the truth, stories about the Bell don't stop at its alleged existence. It is often linked to other shadowy Nazi projects, such as the supposedly mystical Vril Society, which explored Earth energy and exotic propulsion. Was there a connection that explains the secrecy surrounding the Bell? The mystery of the Nazi Bell also raises profound ethical questions. If a device with such capabilities truly existed, what consequences would it have had for the world? The history of technology is filled with discoveries that changed humanity, some for the better, many for destruction. Would we be ready to risk something like Die Glock falling into the wrong hands? While researchers continue chasing answers, Die Glock remains one of World War II's most enduring riddles. Interest is as strong as ever, and every new theory only adds layers to the mystery. Will we ever learn the truth about this enigmatic bell? Perhaps, like so many secrets of the war, its story will stay in the shadows, waiting to be unveiled. The Nazi bell is more than a lost artifact. It has become a symbol of humanity's fascination with the unknown and our endless drive to uncover what lies hidden in history's darkness. As we keep searching for answers, we must remember that some secrets may remain unsolved, and that very uncertainty is what feeds our imagination and curiosity. Who knows what other mysteries still lurk in the vast, shadowy legacy of World War II? What happened to the USS Indianapolis? It is one of the most haunting questions in World War II history. This U.S. Navy ship didn't just play a vital role in the war, its tragic story has gripped generations ever since. But why are its mission and its sinking so important? The USS Indianapolis was a heavy cruiser. It became the very first ship to deliver components of the atomic bomb to their destination in the Pacific. Imagine the tension and secrecy that surrounded that mission. The cargo it carried was no ordinary one, it was the future of warfare itself. Yet what happened next turned into a horrifying and bewildering tragedy that changed hundreds of lives forever. Did you know the ship was sunk in 1945, just days after successfully delivering its deadly payload to the island of Tinian? The mission had been a triumph, but what followed became a nightmare and a mystery. On its way back, USS Indianapolis was struck by a Japanese submarine. Torpedoes hit with devastating force, and within minutes the cruiser sank beneath the dark waters of the Pacific. But what happened to the men who survived the initial explosion? Most of the crew managed to abandon ship, only to find themselves in a terrifying situation, adrift in the vast ocean with almost no hope of rescue. They faced freezing nights, thirst, dehydration, and worst of all, swarms of sharks circling nearby. Can you imagine the despair they felt while waiting for help that never seemed to come? They floated for days, clinging to life, praying someone would find them. And here is the question that still haunts historians: why was no immediate search and rescue operation launched? The answer is as disturbing as the story itself. Because of a catastrophic communications failure, USS Indianapolis was never reported as overdue. Thousands of men were left drifting, their fate unknown to the Navy. Only when a patrol plane accidentally spotted survivors days later did the truth finally come to light. But how many actually lived to tell the tale? In the end, out of nearly 1,200 men aboard, only 317 survived the sinking and the horrors that followed in the water. The stories they told are filled with unimaginable grief, yet they also reveal extraordinary courage and endurance. How could a ship of such vital importance, fresh from the most secret mission of the war, suffer such a horrific and almost forgotten tragedy? After the war, USS Indianapolis became a symbol of negligence and sacrifice. Its story has been portrayed in films and books, yet many questions remain unanswered. The lack of a proper search, the communication breakdowns, and the unimaginable suffering of the survivors sparked decades of calls for justice and recognition. Who was truly responsible for the tragedy of USS Indianapolis? Some survivors, most notably Captain Charles McVeigh, faced fierce criticism and even a court-martial. He was blamed for failing to take proper zigzag evasive maneuvers. Yet many believe he was made a scapegoat for systemic failures far beyond his control. Was it fair to punish one man for the breakdown of an entire system? The story of USS Indianapolis has also left a deep mark on popular culture. The famous scene in Jaws, where the character Quint recounts the horror of the sharks and the sinking, etched the event into collective memory. But how many people truly know the full depth of this tragedy? Today, the story of USS Indianapolis continues to serve as a grim reminder of the dangers of war and how decisions, or the lack of them, can have catastrophic consequences. The memory of the men who fought and died aboard her deserves to be honored. What lessons can we still learn from this tragic event? The sinking of USS Indianapolis was not merely a maritime disaster. It became a study in human resilience under the most extreme conditions. The survivors' accounts teach us about endurance and the will to live. In a sea of despair, some men clung to hope against all odds. Their story is testament to the strength of the human spirit. The mystery surrounding USS Indianapolis reminds us that history is full of shadows and light. When we study these stories, we must never forget the individuals who sacrificed everything and the lessons their experiences offer us. As we dive deeper into the vast ocean of World War II history, what other mysteries and truths are still waiting to be uncovered? The Kecksburg incident is one of those events that defies easy explanation. It continues to fuel the imagination of UFO researchers and lovers of unsolved mysteries. On a cold December night in 1965, a brilliant object streaked across the sky over Pennsylvania. Described by many as a fireball or meteor, it came down in the woods near the small town of Kecksburg. But what really happened that night? Was it just a meteorite, or something far stranger? The first witnesses who reached the crash site reported seeing an object with a bizarre, bell-like shape, partially buried in the ground and covered in strange, hieroglyphic-like markings. Why, then, did the military arrive in force so quickly? Eyewitnesses say soldiers cordoned off the area and prevented civilians from getting close. What were they trying to hide? And why did the incident so rapidly become a matter of national security? Rumors spread like wildfire. Some insisted the object had come from another planet, others were convinced it was a crashed Soviet satellite. But what evidence actually supported either theory? Over the years, more than a dozen eyewitnesses came forward with their accounts. Their descriptions consistently challenged the official explanations. Could the government really be hiding something that might forever change our understanding of space and technology? One of the most intriguing aspects of the case is the almost total absence of official information. Despite countless investigations and intense media interest, the documents related to the Kecksburg incident remain largely classified or missing. What secrets could be buried in those secret archives? Why has the U.S. government never given a clear, definitive explanation despite decades of public curiosity? UFO researchers have turned Kecksburg into one of their flagship cases. The community holds conferences, lectures, and even an annual Kecksburg UFO Festival. But has the search for truth itself become the real phenomenon? The fascination with the unknown has drawn investigators and enthusiasts who are determined to dig up what really happened that night. Some have tried to link the incident to other similar events during the Cold War era, when fear of extraterrestrials and conspiracy theories ran high. Was Kecksburg just the tip of the iceberg in a series of encounters the public was never told about? In this way, the Kecksburg story becomes a mirror of its time, a period defined by suspicion and fear of the other, whether communist or alien. Reports of unidentified flying objects existed long before World War II, but the Kecksburg incident became a cornerstone of American UFO culture. The idea that the object didn't just fall but was quickly whisked away by the military keeps the speculation alive. What kind of technology could have been recovered, and why has no solid proof ever been shown to the public? The testimonies of those who were on the scene that night speak of awe, confusion, and fear of the military presence and fear of the unanswered questions. What exactly was happening in the sky that evening, and why has it left so many people wondering? Are we truly alone in the universe? In their quest for answers, some researchers have even conducted digs in the area where the object is said to have come down. What did they find? Can modern forensic and scientific techniques finally shed light on such an old and puzzling event? With today's technology, the chance of discovering what really happened in Kecksburg feels closer than ever. The possible connections between Kecksburg and other UFO sightings are equally compelling. Many investigators have looked for common threads, patterns that might reveal these events are all part of a larger phenomenon rather than an isolated object that fell in the woods. As long as the Kecksburg story continues to echo, it also stands as a symbol of humanity's search for truth in a world filled with secrets. Our fascination with the unknown shows no sign of fading. With each passing year, more people are drawn to the idea that the universe holds far more than we can currently see or comprehend. How many other incidents similar to Kecksburg have been forgotten or gone unnoticed throughout history? In the end, the Kecksburg incident reminds us that sometimes what we don't know can be just as captivating as what we do. Unanswered questions are an essential part of human curiosity. Do we dare to keep searching for the truth, even if it leads us down unknown paths and into even deeper mysteries? The Kecksburg story is a reminder that in this vast universe there is always something new waiting to be discovered. In 1945 the world was engulfed in the chaos of World War II. Yet right in the middle of that turmoil, a new mystery began to emerge in the area already infamous for its strange disappearances, the Bermuda Triangle. The story we are about to explore is the baffling disappearance of Flight 19, 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers that vanished without a trace. What really happened to those aircraft? The story begins on December 5, 1945. That afternoon, 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took off from the Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The mission appeared routine, a standard navigation training exercise over the Atlantic Ocean. But as the hours ticked by, something bizarre started to unfold. The pilots radioed that their compasses were malfunctioning and they could no longer tell where they were. Isn't that strange? How could a group of experienced aviators, led by a veteran flight instructor, become completely lost in broad daylight over waters they knew well? As the situation grew increasingly alarming, one of the pilots, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, sent a chilling radio message: "I don't know where we are. We don't know which way is west." Everything looks strange, even the ocean. That desperate transmission has left historians and aviation enthusiasts baffled ever since. What could possibly have gone so wrong? Was it human error, a technical malfunction, or perhaps something that lies beyond ordinary human understanding? The U.S. Navy launched one of the largest search operations in history. Planes and ships scoured the area, yet despite all efforts, not a single trace of Flight 19 was ever found, no wreckage, no oil slicks, no bodies. How could 5 large aircraft, each carrying a crew and flying information, simply vanish into thin air? The complete absence of evidence gave birth to countless theories, some more bizarre than others. One of the most intriguing suggests that Flight 19 may have fallen victim to an unknown natural phenomenon in the region, time vortices or portals that could swallow aircraft and transport them into another dimension. Could the pilots have crossed an invisible boundary of time and space from which there is no return? It sounds like science fiction, but the total lack of any conventional explanation has kept this and similar ideas alive. Another widespread theory is simpler: the planes ran out of fuel and crashed into the sea, sinking in waters too deep for recovery. Yet extensive searches at the time found no signs of a crash. Could the ocean have swallowed them so completely that nothing remained on the surface? Sometimes nature can be both merciless and mysterious. Beyond theories about the fate of the aircraft themselves, the disappearance of Flight 19 is also surrounded by reports of other strange sightings in the same area. Is there a connection to the dozens of unexplained incidents that have occurred in the Bermuda Triangle over the decades, from vanished ships to other aircraft that suffered inexplicable navigation failures? That stretch of ocean has become a stage for countless unsettling events. Pilots' accounts from searches for Flight 19 often mention seeing strange lights in the sky or experiencing sudden, inexplicable loss of control. What is really happening in that part of the world? Some believe hidden forces operate on the edge of logic and reason. The mystery deepened further when, just hours after Flight 19 disappeared, one of the rescue aircraft sent to find them, a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat, also vanished in the same area. Was this mere coincidence, or is there a broader pattern linking these events? The story only grows more unsettling. In time, the U.S. Navy officially closed the investigation into Flight 19, but the mystery was never truly solved. Mystery enthusiasts continue to study the case, hunting for clues and theories that might finally shed light on what happened that fateful day. The incident has inspired books, documentaries, and thousands of speculations around the world. Today, Flight 19 remains an enduring symbol of the unknown, a reminder that some things in this world defy explanation, and that reality can sometimes be stranger than fiction. The disappearance of those 5 aircraft lives on in collective memory as proof that history is full of shadows and secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Reflecting on this enigma, we can't help but ask, what other secrets might still be hidden in the skies above the Bermuda Triangle? Perhaps Flight 19 is not the only mystery waiting for us in that bewildering region. The search for answers continues, and one day the truth may finally surface. Until then, like so many other mysteries, it remains unsolved. Some mysteries of World War II feel like pages torn from a detective novel, and one of the most fascinating is the phenomenon known as ghost fortresses, or phantom aircraft and ships. What lies behind the planes and ships that vanished without a trace? Throughout the war, pilots and sailors repeatedly told stories of seeing strange things in the sky and on the sea. But what was really behind those sightings? Allied aircraft, especially the heavy bombers flying long missions over the oceans, were often under extreme stress. Yet when some returned from missions, or sometimes when they never returned at all, crews reported seeing mysterious lights that seemed to follow them across the night sky. Were these lights simply optical illusions caused by exhaustion, St. Elmo's fire, or reflections, or could they have been something far more extraordinary? The accounts of those who experienced these phenomena vary, but they all agree on one thing: the inexplicable seemed to become part of everyday wartime life. Imagine a bomber pilot, exhausted after a long mission, suddenly noticing a glowing orb pacing his aircraft through the darkness. Encounters like this were reported dozens, even hundreds of times. Yet the descriptions were so diverse that it's almost impossible to reach a firm conclusion. Was it secret technology we still don't understand, or simply light reflecting off clouds and ice crystals? The theories are as varied as the experiences themselves. At sea, things were no different. Both naval and merchant sailors told stories of strange occurrences. Some captains claimed they saw entire ships, fully lit, sailing normally, then watched them dissolve into the fog, never to be seen again. How can a fully armed warship simply disappear without a trace? That question has puzzled historians and mystery enthusiasts for decades. The disappearances weren't limited to individual planes or ships. There are accounts of whole squadrons or convoys vanishing in the middle of battle, or even in calm weather, with no wreckage, no survivors, no explanation. Sometimes the chaos of combat offers a plausible answer, but in other cases the stories are so bizarre that they force us to consider something far greater. Some believe these vanishings were caused by unexplained natural forces or even intervention from something unknown. Others argue that war itself, with its terror, exhaustion, and destruction, created the perfect breeding ground for legends, myths that still live on today. Ghost stories and battlefield visions became intertwined with military history, blurring the line between fact and fiction. One famous case is the so-called Flight 17, sometimes confused with other missing aircraft, which took off from a base and never returned. Survivors from similar missions spoke of strange lights in the sky and an eerie silence that fell over the ocean. Did the plane fall victim to an inexplicable phenomenon, or was it simply swallowed by the vast sea? With no hard evidence, the case remains wide open to interpretation. Over time, these stories grew and evolved, passed from one generation to the next, captivating anyone who wanted to know the truth. People still ask, will we ever get definitive answers? Are these just tall tales soldiers told to cope with trauma, or is something more serious hidden beneath them? The fascination isn't only about the supernatural, it's about trying to understand the human experience of war. World War II was a time of immense suffering, and these mysteries remind us that in the midst of chaos, people desperately seek meaning and answers. The tales of vanished planes and ghost ships are like modern legends of heroes and monsters, but they also reflect the very real pain of those who lived through that era. What went through a pilot's mind as he stared into the empty sky, torn between duty and fear? These stories are a tribute to their courage, and to the questions that still have no answer. In later years, researchers tried to solve the riddles. Some used modern sonar and magnetometers, searching for the wrecks of missing aircraft and ships. But the vast oceans and harsh conditions have thwarted most efforts. Will the secrets buried in the deep ever be revealed? Every new account that surfaces only makes the ghost fortress phenomenon more mysterious. Theories range from scientific explanations, electromagnetic anomalies, mirages, ball lightning, to outright belief in the supernatural. The war left us not only stories of bravery and sacrifice, but also enigmas that refuse to die. The mystery of wartime disappearances reminds us that, despite all our technological progress, there are still things we cannot fully comprehend. Yet human curiosity will always keep these tales alive. Who knows how many secrets still lie at the bottom of the sea, waiting to be found? What secrets does Operation High Jump conceal? This 1946 to 1947 mission has fascinated historians and lovers of the unknown for decades. Why did the United States send a massive naval armada to Antarctica immediately after World War II ended? The answers people have proposed have spawned countless theories, some plausible, others wildly speculative, but all of them gripping. Operation High Jump, officially the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, is still regarded as the largest Antarctic expedition ever mounted. It involved more than 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, including an aircraft carrier, and over 25 aircraft. The official purpose was scientific research, training in extreme cold weather operations, and mapping uncharted territory. But was that really the whole story behind such an enormous undertaking? Many researchers believe the United States was looking for something far bigger, something that might have been hidden beneath the ice for decades. One of the most persistent and fascinating theories claims that the mission was hunting for a secret Nazi base in Antarctica. Did you know that some researchers seriously maintain that the Germans may have built hidden facilities on that frozen continent? As early as the 1930s, Nazi Germany sent expeditions to the region, the best known being the 1938 to 1939 Schwabenland expedition. Certain theorists insist that the real outcome of those voyages was the construction of a vast underground complex, sometimes called Base 211 or New Swabia. There, allegedly, they continued developing exotic weapons and technologies far from Allied bombs. During Operation High Jump itself, strange reports began to circulate. Pilots and crew members spoke of encountering unidentified flying objects over the ice. These sightings sparked endless speculation. Could they have been proof of advanced Nazi technology that had survived the war? Some pilots described glowing discs emerging from the water or streaking across the sky at impossible speeds, forcing people to question the true purpose of the expedition. Moreover, why was the operation structured like a full-scale military campaign? Aircraft carriers, destroyers, fighter planes, it looked far more like preparation for combat than a peaceful scientific survey. Many theorists believe the U.S. High Command feared they might face unknown, possibly hostile forces beneath the ice. What kind of threat did the admirals imagine? The operation ended abruptly, much earlier than originally planned, and with surprisingly little public disclosure despite the enormous resources invested. Why were the findings kept so quiet? That secrecy only fueled rumors that something truly extraordinary had been discovered, or that the task force had been forced to retreat. Over the decades, Operation High Jump has been linked to the idea that remnants of the Third Reich somehow survived in the darkness of Antarctica. The notion that high-ranking Nazis escaped there in the final months of the war and continued their work in secret has persisted for generations. Were the Allies simply trying to erase every trace of the regime, or were they genuinely worried about what might still be hidden on the icy continent? In popular culture, High Jump has become fertile ground for conspiracy theories, everything from Nazi-alien collaborations to the discovery of ancient lost civilizations or revolutionary anti-gravity technology beneath the ice. These stories have captured imaginations worldwide. What is it that draws us so powerfully to them? Perhaps it is the intoxicating mix of real history, vast unexplored spaces, and the possibility that our world still harbors secrets we are not meant to know. The questions surrounding the true goals of Operation High Jump remain unanswered. Interest has never faded. Researchers continue to comb through declassified documents, diaries, and interviews, hoping for the clue that will finally reveal what really happened in 1946 to 1947. Could the decisive evidence still be locked away in classified archives? Antarctica, with its endless white deserts and layers of ancient ice, remains one of the most mysterious places on Earth. What else might it be hiding? The accounts of explorers, scientists, and military personnel who have been there make us imagine an entire hidden world waiting just beneath the surface. Operation High Jump is only one small chapter in that larger enigma. Echoes of the past may still resonate across those frozen wastes. Theories about a surviving Third Reich, lost super technology, and encounters with unknown aerial phenomena continue to fascinate us. The marriage of history and mystery has always been perfect soil for speculation and discovery. In time, Operation High Jump has become a symbol of the unknown. The questions it raises are often more compelling than any answers we have found so far. What would happen if one day the secrets the expedition may have uncovered were finally revealed? Perhaps the history of Antarctica is far more closely intertwined with the history of World War II than we have ever imagined. Thus, Operation High Jump lives on in our collective memory as a reminder that in the search for truth we often uncover more questions than answers. History is full of mysteries still waiting to be solved, and Antarctica is only one of many places where those riddles may lie hidden. Human curiosity about the past will never stop driving us toward knowledge, no matter how deep the ice or how dark the secret. The submarine U-47 is one of the most legendary vessels of World War II, and one whose fate still generates endless questions and rumors. What really happened to this famous German U-boat that performed such daring feats at the height of the war? U-47 shot to fame with its breathtaking attack on the British battleship HMS Royal Oak, right inside the supposedly impregnable anchorage of Scapa Flow, on October 14, 1939. Under the command of the already legendary Gunther Prien, the submarine slipped past defenses, fired its torpedoes, and escaped, sinking a major capital ship and delivering a massive psychological blow to the Royal Navy on the very first months of the conflict. Prien became a national hero overnight. Hitler personally decorated him, and the propaganda machine turned U-47 into a symbol of German invincibility beneath the waves. Yet after a string of successful patrols and over 30 merchant ships sunk, U-47 and its celebrated commander vanished forever in early 1941. What happened? The official German records simply state that U-47 failed to return from its last patrol and was posted missing on March 7, 1941, somewhere in the North Atlantic, west of Ireland. No distress signal, no final position report, nothing. Since then, dozens of theories have emerged. She sank it right inside the heavily defended Royal Navy base at Scapa Flow, sending shockwaves of fear through the Allied fleets. Yet despite all its triumphs, the fate of U-47 became one of the war's enduring mysteries. Did you know that U-47's commander, Gunther Prien, was nicknamed the Bull of Scapa Flow and celebrated as a hero of the Third Reich? Prien became a household name. His daring exploits were broadcast on radio, printed in newspapers, and used to rally the German people. But what happened to him and his crew after those dazzling victories? In March 1941, U-47 simply vanished in the North Atlantic. The submarine that had terrified the Allies met a sudden and unsettling end. Have you ever wondered how a boat that achieved so much could just disappear without a trace? Her final patrol began when U-47 slipped out of the German-occupied French port of Lorient, then called La Pallas by the Kriegsmarine, in early March 1941. Despite reports of heavy enemy activity in the area, she was ordered to hunt in the icy waters northwest of Ireland, along the busy North Atlantic convoy routes. After that, all contact was lost. No final radio message, no emergency buoy, nothing. Rumors about her fate spread quickly. Some said she was sunk by a British destroyer, others claimed she fell victim to an air attack or struck a mine. As is so often the case with mysteries, there were plenty of theories and very little hard evidence. Could U-47 have met an even stranger end? Some speculate she lies intact in the abyss, her wreck untouched on the seafloor. Others whisper that she may have reached a remote island and her crew chose desertion over certain death. The complete absence of proof makes every scenario feel possible. What secrets might be revealed if the submarine were ever found? The search for U-47 has itself spawned conspiracy theories, that she was part of a secret late-war Nazi evacuation plan to South America, that she carried something, or someone, far more valuable than ordinary cargo, or that her disappearance was deliberately covered up. Yet none of these ideas have ever been substantiated. The truth is that, to this day, U-47's fate remains officially unknown. Stories of vanished submarines are full of high-seas adventure and hidden truths, and U-47 is no exception. What lessons can we draw from her mysterious disappearance? War is full of enigmas, and U-47 stands as a reminder that history often leaves us more questions than answers. Her story has inspired documentaries, books, and countless diving expeditions, yet no one has ever given a definitive explanation. What would it take to solve this riddle once and for all? Imagine the day U-47 is finally discovered. The artifacts, logbooks, Perhaps even the personal effects of her crew could rewrite pages of history and give voice to men who vanished more than 80 years ago. Submarines played a decisive role in naval warfare, and the loss of U-47 is just one chapter in that larger saga. But what does her disappearance really symbolize? The uncertainty and chaos of total war? The thin line between glory and oblivion? The story of U-47 is not just about a lost submarine. It is a window into an era when men and machines faced unimaginable hardship, cramped steel tubes, lifelong friendships forged under pressure, and the ever-present shadow of death. The mystery of U-47 continues to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Every new wreck discovery from that period adds fuel to the fire of curiosity. How many other untold stories still lie in the deep? Perhaps we will never know for certain. The vanishing of U-47 reminds us that even in our age of satellites and sonar, unsolved mysteries endure. Studying history means accepting that some questions may never be answered, yet that should never stop us from asking. The hunt for U-47 is proof of the human spirit and its unquenchable desire to understand the past, no matter how elusive it may be. Foo Fighters, the very name sparks mystery and curiosity. It refers to the strange aerial objects seen by pilots on both sides during World War II. But where did this odd name come from? Allied aircrews flying over Europe and the Pacific were the first to report the phenomena regularly. They called them Foo Fighters, a term that combined foo, slang for something bizarre or unknown, with fighters, reflecting the wartime context. The name is said to have originated from a popular comic strip character, Smokey Stover, who often said, "Where there's foo, there's fire." But what exactly were these objects? Accounts vary, but most describe bright, glowing orbs, sometimes orange, white, or red, that moved at incredible speeds and in erratic patterns. They often shadowed bomber formations for minutes or even hours, performing maneuvers no known aircraft of the time could match, yet they never displayed hostility. Pilots watched them dance around their wings, accelerate instantly, or simply vanish. German and Japanese airmen reported almost identical sightings, using their own names, Kraut fireballs, etc. The fact that both sides observed the same thing rules out secret enemy weapons in most cases. Explanations have ranged from the mundane to the extraordinary: St. Elmo's plasma, ball lightning, reflections on canopies, secret German wonder weapons, early radar chaff experiments, even extraterrestrial craft monitoring the war. Official investigations by the US and British military concluded they were probably natural electrical phenomena, yet no single explanation has ever satisfied everyone. The Foo Fighter mystery remains one of the earliest well-documented chapters in modern UFO lore, and the name itself has lived on, most famously as the title of the rock band founded by Dave Grohl. To this day, when old pilots gather, some still swear those lights were something far beyond 1940 science, and that they were not alone in the skies over a world at war. Pilots described these lights as glowing balls or discs, sometimes in vivid colors, orange, red, white, that seemed to play hide-and-seek in the night sky. The obvious question arises: were these simply natural phenomena, or was something far greater behind them? One of the most popular early theories was that Foo Fighters were secret Nazi technology, perhaps a new psychological weapon or some kind of electromagnetic interference device. Yet when more reports were examined, it became clear that German and Japanese pilots were seeing exactly the same things and were just as baffled and frightened. How could both sides be witnessing the identical phenomenon? That single fact effectively rules out the secret enemy weapon theory for most researchers. Some investigators suggested they were meteors, burning space debris, or even hot air balloons, but the pilots who encountered them were adamant: nothing in the natural world could match the speed, the impossible right-angle turns, or the way the objects paced their aircraft for miles before vanishing. So what else could they have been? A minority of theorists, and later UFO researchers, proposed that these could have been tests of extraterrestrial technology or even scout craft observing the war. That idea continues to feed the broader imagination about life beyond Earth. There are hundreds of documented accounts. One U.S. Army Air Force's pilot described how a cluster of glowing orbs flew in formation around his bomber, outpacing his own aircraft with ease. Similar stories were repeated so often that their credibility is hard to dismiss outright. Yet, strangely, these sightings were never deeply investigated during the war itself. As the conflict intensified, pilots had more immediate threats: enemy fighters, flak, mechanical failures, and the Foo Fighters faded into the background of daily survival. Still, the legend grew and became part of military folklore. Some reports even suggest that, in the chaos and terror of night missions, the idea that something else was up there, something not trying to kill them, offered a strange kind of comfort. The end of the war did not end the sightings. From 1945 onward, similar objects were reported worldwide, now linked to the flying saucer era and modern UFO phenomena. Was this simply a natural evolution of humanity's fascination with the unknown? Today, Foo Fighters remain a staple of documentaries and books about wartime mysteries. Historians insist we must approach them with evidence and context, yet the question lingers: is it fair, or even possible, to completely separate history from the strange phenomena that occurred within it? Despite their almost mythical status, Foo Fighters remind us that even in the darkest hours of war, wonder and curiosity never died. The drive to understand the unknown is built into us. And although technology has marched forward, the desire to uncover the truth behind these enigmas has never disappeared. What other secrets still drift across the vast sky we have yet to fully understand? The Foo Fighters sightings left a permanent mark on popular culture, inspiring movies, books, and endless speculation. More than just a footnote in media, they remain a symbol of the intrigue and mystery that still surround World War II. Perhaps the full truth about these objects will never be known. With every new report or theory, the myth lives on. Meanwhile, history reminds us that even in the darkest moments, curiosity and the hunger for the unknown can open doors to new realities. Are we ready to accept that there may be more in our skies than our eyes can currently see? The answer might lie far beyond our present understanding. In the end, Foo Fighters are a fascinating reminder that war is fought not only on battlefields, but in the realm of the unknown. As we continue to explore the mysteries of history, every discovery challenges us to rethink what we believe is real. Who knows what other secrets are still waiting to be uncovered? The curious story of Rudolf Hess's solo flight to Scotland began at a moment of immense tension and conflict. Why did one of the highest-ranking officials of the Nazi regime, second only to Hitler himself, decide to fly alone in a Messerschmitt Bf 110 across the North Sea on May 10, 1941? In the middle of World War II, when the conflict was engulfing all of Europe, Hess made a decision that would stun the world and change the course of history. A devoted follower of Hitler, Hess had become convinced that the war was a catastrophe for Germany and that a way out had to be found. He believed he could personally negotiate peace with Britain. An audacious, almost insane idea, wasn't it? But what happened next was even more astonishing. After parachuting into Scotland near Eaglesham, Hess introduced himself to a local farmer as Captain Alfred Horn and announced that he had come on a mission of humanity from Adolf Hitler. Instead of being greeted as a peacemaker, he was promptly arrested by the Home Guard. The British government was just as shocked as Hess himself. A top Nazi official landing in the middle of the war felt like something out of a spy novel. Interrogations began immediately. Over time, British officials began to seriously question Hess's mental state. Was he truly insane, or was there a larger plan behind his actions? His behavior was, to say the least, bizarre. He insisted his mission was noble, yet he refused to provide verifiable details and sometimes seemed detached from reality. Meanwhile, when Hitler learned what had happened, his reaction was explosive. He denounced Hess as a madman and claimed he had acted entirely alone. Fury and a sense of betrayal were only the beginning. The situation grew even stranger when the British decided not to execute him or send him to a regular POW camp. Instead, Hess was held under special conditions, first in the Tower of London, then in various country houses, and finally in Spandau prison after the war. For decades he remained the sole inmate of Spandau, guarded jointly by the four Allied powers. Conspiracy theories bloomed. Some claimed Hess had been a double agent, others that he had a secret agreement with members of the British establishment, the Duke of Hamilton, in particular, and still others that the man who landed in Scotland was not Hess at all, but a doppelganger. At the Nuremberg trials in 1945 to 1946, Hess sat in the dock with the other major war criminals, yet his strange Scottish adventure placed him in a unique category, almost as if he had defected. His death in 1987, officially ruled a suicide at the age of 93, only deepened the mystery. Many refused to accept the suicide verdict and believe he was silenced because he knew too much. Rudolf Hess's flight remains one of the most debated episodes of the war. Was he a traitor, a dreamer who genuinely wanted peace, or a pawn in a much larger game? His story forces us to confront the complexities of loyalty, power, and the desperate search for peace in the midst of total war. It is a reminder that even in the darkest conflicts, individual decisions can be both heroic and tragic. So what does the Hess affair ultimately tell us about World War II? It was not only a military struggle, it was a battlefield of ideas, loyalties, and, in the end, enduring mysteries. His flight to Scotland is just one of many enigmas that still make us question what we really know about that turbulent period. How many more secrets remain hidden in the shadows of war? Toward the very end of World War II, as the Red Army advanced into Poland, rumors began to circulate about a train loaded with unimaginable riches. What could possibly have been aboard this mysterious train? We are talking about the legendary Nazi gold train, a legend that fascinates historians, treasure hunters, and ordinary curious people to this day. Did it really exist, or is it simply a myth born from the chaos and desperation of a collapsing empire? The story goes that in early 1945, as the Third Reich crumbled, the Nazis filled an armored train with gold bars, jewels, priceless works of art, and other looted treasures, then hid it somewhere in Lower Silesia, now southwestern Poland. The goal was simple: to keep these riches out of Allied and Soviet hands and, perhaps, to fund a post-war Nazi resurgence. According to witnesses and post-war testimonies, the train, possibly up to 150 meters long, was driven into a secret tunnel in the Owl Mountains, part of the massive underground complex known as Reese Giant, and the entrance was then dynamited shut. Why did the Nazis choose to hide such enormous wealth instead of evacuating it to safety? The answer is simple: by January 1945, the roads and railways were under constant air attack, and the front lines were collapsing faster than any organized retreat could manage. A train full of treasure became too big, too slow, and too obvious a target. Over the decades, dozens of expeditions, some official, many amateur, have searched the hills and tunnels around Wałbrzych and the Kcies Castle area. Ground-penetrating radar anomalies, eyewitness accounts from former forced laborers, and declassified documents have kept the legend alive. In 2015, two men claimed to have located the train with radar, sparking worldwide media frenzy, but subsequent official excavations found nothing conclusive. Yet the myth refuses to die. New scans and digs are announced every few years, and local museums even have exhibits dedicated to the gold train. Whether it is real or not, the story has become a symbol of the vast wealth looted by the Nazis across Europe, wealth that, in many cases, has never been recovered. Billions in today's money in gold, currency, and art simply vanished in the final months of the war. The Nazi gold train is more than just a treasure hunt. It is a haunting reminder of the greed, desperation, and secrecy that marked the collapse of the Third Reich. Somewhere beneath the Polish mountains, tunnels are still waiting, silent, dark, and full of questions. Will the train ever be found? Perhaps. Or perhaps, like so many other secrets of the war, it will remain forever lost in the fog of history. As Allied troops advanced, Nazi leaders panicked that their looted fortunes would fall into enemy hands. To prevent that, they decided to hide their immense wealth in a place they believed would be absolutely secure. But where could that place possibly be? Theories about the train's route abound. The most persistent claims that it disappeared into a network of secret tunnels dug deep beneath the Sudeten Mountains, the Owl Mountains near Wałbrzych in present-day Poland. This was part of the gigantic, still unfinished underground complex known as Project Reese, Giant, built by slave labor in 1943 to 1945. The idea of a vast, hidden subterranean world has fired imaginations for decades. Expeditions, official and amateur, have been combing those hills ever since, yet no one has ever produced conclusive proof that the train or the complete tunnel system even exists. One intriguing detail: in the spring of 1945, as the Reich collapsed, several Polish soldiers and forced laborers claimed they actually saw a long, heavily guarded armored train moving slowly toward the mountains at night. Were they eyewitnesses to a historic event that was then deliberately buried in secrecy for the next 80 years? Despite their testimonies, the absence of hard evidence has kept most historians skeptical. Still, the dream of finding the train has driven countless search teams into the valleys and forests of Lower Silesia. Local authorities have repeatedly authorized digs. In 1984, a group of treasure hunters announced they had located a sealed tunnel near Wałbrzych containing rails, military equipment, and Nazi documents, but no gold. The finds confirmed intense German activity in the area, yet the legendary train remained elusive. Over the years the myth only grew larger. In 2015, two men, Piotr Koper and Andreas Richter, claimed ground-penetrating radar had detected a 150-meter armored train buried under an embankment. The story exploded across global media, the Polish government got involved, and excavation permits were issued. After months of work and millions spent, nothing definitive was found, just old geological anomalies and wartime debris. The disappointment was huge, but the legend refused to die. New technology keeps the hope alive. Modern magnetometers, LiDAR, and deep-penetrating radar are now being used in places that were inaccessible decades ago. Every few years another team announces promising anomalies, and the cycle begins again. Some military historians offer more prosaic explanations. If the train ever existed, it could have been looted by local partisans, Red Army troops, or even desperate German units in the final chaotic weeks. A train loaded with gold would have been an irresistible target, its contents scattered, melted down, or hidden in 1,000 smaller caches. Yet the legend endures. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of people have tramped through the Polish mountains chasing this ghost. What keeps them going? For some it's pure adventure, the thrill of the hunt. For others it's the chance to touch a tangible piece of history that could rewrite the final chapter of the Third Reich. And for a few, it's about honoring the memory of the millions whose lives and possessions were stolen to fill those wagons in the first place. In the end, the Nazi gold train is more than a treasure hunt. It has become a symbol of collective memory, of the greed, brutality, and desperation that marked the war's collapse. Gold may or may not lie beneath those hills, but the stories it has spawned are priceless. The question remains, will the train ever be found? History is full of surprises, and as long as people believe it is out there, the legend will live on. The mystery of the Nazi gold train continues to captivate not only the imagination but the very human need to uncover what really happened in those dark final days. What secrets does General George S. Patton's missing diary hold? For decades, historians and enthusiasts have chased rumors of a private wartime diary, far more candid and explosive than his sanitized official papers, that Patton supposedly kept until his death in December 1945. Why is its contents considered so important? Patton was famous for his aggressive, often controversial battlefield style, but the diary is said to have contained his unfiltered thoughts on Allied strategy, his deep distrust of the Soviets, his criticisms of Eisenhower and the Roosevelt/Truman administrations, and his predictions, some believe warnings, about the coming Cold War and the future partition of Europe. Many researchers believe the diary would reveal a Patton far more politically outspoken, and potentially embarrassing, than the public ever knew. He reportedly wrote that the real enemy was not Nazi Germany but Stalin's Russia, and that the West had made a catastrophic mistake by allying with the USSR. Some even claim he outlined plans for a possible Third War against the Soviets while American armies were still in Europe. The diary has never surfaced. Was it lost in the chaos after his fatal car accident, deliberately destroyed by his family, or quietly removed by U.S. intelligence because its contents were deemed too dangerous in 1945 to 1946? Rumors persist that Army intelligence officers confiscated it from Patton's possessions immediately after his death, that his widow, Beatrice, was pressured to hand it over, that certain pages were copied and locked away in classified archives while the rest vanished. Over the years, occasional leaks and alleged excerpts have appeared, usually second or third hand, but nothing authenticated. Conspiracy theorists go further. Some insist Patton's fatal accident was no accident at all, and that the diary was the reason he had to be silenced. Whether any of this is true, the very absence of the diary has only added to Patton's mystique. He remains one of the war's most complex, polarizing figures, hero to some, dangerous loose cannon to others. The missing diary has become the ultimate, what if, a lost window into the mind of a man who saw the post-war world with chilling clarity, or dangerous recklessness, depending on whom you ask. The search for Patton's diary continues. Every few years a new rumor surfaces, someone claims to have seen pages in a private collection, or a deathbed confession from an aide. Yet the diary itself remains as elusive as the general's own uncompromising spirit. It has become a symbol of our hunger for unvarnished truth in an era of propaganda and carefully managed legacies. And until it is found, if it ever is, George S. Patton will keep one final secret from history. How many times have we heard tales of hidden treasure and wartime secrets that sound like adventure novels? Now imagine that in the heart of the Austrian Alps, at the remote and icy lake known as Toplitzsee, Lake Toplitz, lies one of the best-guarded secrets of the Second World War. At an altitude of over 700 meters, surrounded by sheer cliffs and dense forest, this small, dark lake became, in the final months of the Reich, the Nazis' last resort vault. Why this lake? In early 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed, SS officers arrived with truckloads of sealed metal boxes. Eyewitnesses, local villagers and forced laborers, later described how the boxes were loaded onto rafts at night and rowed to the deepest part of the lake, over 100 meters in places, where they were sunk with explosives. Some say the boxes contained billions in counterfeit British pounds produced under Operation Bernhard, intended to destroy the UK economy, others that they held gold bars, stolen jewelry, and secret documents from the Reichsbank. Still others whisper that Toplitzsee became the final hiding place for lists of Nazi bank accounts, secret weapons blueprints, and even evidence of looted art and Holocaust assets. The first post-war expeditions began as early as 1946 to 47. Divers found crates of the counterfeit money, perfect £5, £10, £20, and £50 notes, scattered across the lake bed. In 1959 a German team recovered boxes containing printing plates and more forged currency worth hundreds of millions at the time. Since then, dozens of dives, many fatal, because of fallen trees and zero visibility below 20 meters, have pulled up ammunition, weapons, and more counterfeit cash. But the real treasure, the gold, the documents, the proof of where the Nazi loot ended up, has never been found. The lake is still there, silent and black, guarded by Austrian authorities who now strictly control diving permits. Every few years a new expedition is announced, armed with side-scan sonar and mini-submarines. Rumors persist that the deepest boxes were deliberately booby-trapped or that the most sensitive material was sunk in weighted containers designed never to be recovered. Toplet Sea has become Europe's own Bermuda Triangle of wartime secrets, a place where the physical evidence of Nazi crimes literally lies at the bottom of a mountain lake, taunting us. Is the real treasure still down there, wrapped in darkness and silt? Or was it recovered decades ago by people who never told the world? One thing is certain, as long as those waters remain unexplored to their very bottom, the ghosts of the Third Reich will keep their final secret beneath the cold, still surface of Lake Toplitz. This lake is surrounded by steep mountains and thick, almost impenetrable forest. It is famous not only for its breathtaking natural beauty, but for the dark legends that cling to it like mist. What makes Lake Toplitz so special? The answer lies in the persistent rumor that somewhere in its black depths lies a fabulous sunken treasure: gold bars, jewels, priceless artworks, and top-secret Nazi documents, dumped there in the final, desperate weeks of the Third Reich. Imagine the scene in the spring of 1945, SS convoys winding up the narrow mountain road under cover of darkness, metal boxes the size of coffins loaded onto small boats, rowed to the deepest part of the lake, over 100 meters in places, and then sunk with explosives so that no Allied or Soviet soldier would ever get their hands on the loot. That, at least, is the story. In the decades since, dozens of expeditions, some government-sponsored, many private and half-secret, have tried to solve the riddle. Divers have died here, the water is ice-cold even in summer, visibility drops to zero below 15 to 20 meters, and the lake bed is littered with fallen trees that turn it into an underwater maze. What has actually been found? Millions of near-perfect counterfeit British pounds from Operation Bernhard. The Nazis planned to crash the UK economy by flooding it with fake money. The original printing plates and machines used to make them. Boxes of ammunition, rockets, and even small experimental weapons. Countless forged documents and Reichsbank ledgers. But never, at least officially, the legendary gold or the lists of secret Swiss bank accounts that many believe were sunk with it. Some say the real treasure was placed in sealed containers weighted to sink into the thick layer of false bottom mud created by centuries of rotting logs, making it invisible even to modern sonar. Others insist the most sensitive boxes were booby-trapped or removed long ago by former SS men who returned in the 1950s under false identities. There are also stranger stories, unexplained lights dancing on the surface at night, divers reporting the feeling of being watched, compasses spinning wildly in certain parts of the lake. Locals shrug and say the mountain itself doesn't want the past disturbed. The Austrian government now tightly controls diving permits, and the lake has become a kind of open-air museum of dark history. Every few years a new team arrives with million-dollar equipment, announces definitive anomalies, and the media frenzy begins again. Yet the gold, if it ever existed, remains untouched. Lake Toplitz is more than a treasure hunt. It is a mirror held up to the final panic of a dying empire, men who had stolen half of Europe trying to hide their plunder in an alpine grave so deep that even time might forget it. And perhaps the greatest irony is this: the counterfeit money that has been recovered is now worth far more to collectors than its face value ever was. The Nazis' fake pounds have become real treasure after all. So the search continues. The lake stays silent, black, and very, very cold. Would you dare to dive into those waters for a chance at the lost gold of the Third Reich? And now, what if I told you that during World War II the Allies came up with an absolutely insane plan, one so bold it could have changed the entire course of the war overnight? In the midst of desperation and the urgent need to deceive the enemy, one of the most audacious deception operations in military history was born: Patton's Ghost Army. But what exactly was this phantom force, and how on earth did it manage to fool one of the most powerful war machines the world had ever seen? The Ghost Army was not made of real soldiers, tanks, or artillery. It was a masterpiece of pure illusion, the 23 RD Headquarters Special Troops, and later elements of the 1st U.S. Army Group, FUSAG, a top-secret unit of roughly 1,100 artists, actors, sound engineers, radio operators, and special effects experts. Their mission? To impersonate entire Army Corps, sometimes two at a time, and convinced the Germans that massive Allied forces were massing in places they were not. How did they do it? Inflatable tanks, trucks, and artillery that looked astonishingly real from the air, complete with fake tracks and oil stains on the ground. Sonic deception, giant speakers mounted on half-tracks that blasted recordings of tank columns on the move, construction work, and troop chatter for miles across the countryside. Fake radio traffic, hundreds of scripted messages sent in the clear, mimicking the chatter of real divisions, complete with phony commanders and call signs. Visual misdirection, actors dressed as high-ranking officers visited local towns, accidentally let slip false plans in cafes, and staged elaborate fake headquarters with painted signs, flags, and laundry lines full of uniforms. Spoof patches and bumper markings on vehicles that changed daily to match the fictitious units they were pretending to be. The crown jewel was Operation Fortitude South in 1944, the Ghost Army, with General George S. Patton publicly placed in command, convinced Hitler and the entire German high command that the main Allied invasion would come at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. German intelligence photos showed hundreds of tanks and landing craft in southeast England. They even kept 15 German divisions pinned down in the wrong place for weeks after D-Day. The deception was so successful that, even after Normandy, Hitler still believed the real invasion under Patton was coming later at Calais. Patton himself played his role perfectly, touring fake camps, giving interviews, and being photographed everywhere the Germans expected Army Group Patton to be. The irony? The most aggressive field commander of the war spent crucial months as the figurehead of an army that existed only on paper, on the radio, and in rubber and canvas. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops remained classified for decades. Most of its veterans never spoke of it until the 1990s. Their work is now recognized as one of the greatest feats of military deception ever executed, and it saved tens of thousands of real lives by keeping German divisions far from the actual fighting. So yes, in the spring and summer of 1944, an army of artists, actors, and illusionists, led by one of the most ferocious generals in history, managed to outwit the Wehrmacht with nothing more than creativity, loudspeakers, and a lot of hot air. And that, perhaps, is the most Patton thing of all. Now, about that missing diary you mentioned, the one many believe would reveal Patton's explosive, unfiltered opinions on Eisenhower, the Soviets, and the entire post-war order. The one that has never been found, and that some insist was deliberately disappeared because it was simply too dangerous to let the world read. That is a mystery for another night, but the fact that even the man who commanded a ghost army may have left behind one final, very real secret still keeps historians, and conspiracy theorists, awake. As we continue to explore the history of World War II, General Patton's missing diary remains one of the great unsolved mysteries. It continues to intrigue and fascinate us. His legacy lives on, and the search for truth never ends. Who knows what secrets might still be hidden on pages that were never written, or were written and then deliberately made to disappear. The story of Patton, like his diary, is filled with unanswered questions and enigmas waiting to be unraveled. How many times have we heard tales of hidden treasures and wartime secrets that sound like they were lifted straight from an adventure novel? Now imagine that deep in the heart of the Austrian Alps, on a remote mountain lake called Toplitzsee, Lake Toplitz, lies one of the best-kept secrets of the Second World War. Surrounded by sheer cliffs and dense, almost impenetrable forest, the lake is famous not only for its stunning natural beauty but for the dark legends that swirl around it like mountain mist. What makes it so special? The answer lies in the persistent rumors of a sunken treasure, chests said to be filled with gold bars, jewels, priceless art, and top-secret Nazi documents, dumped there in the final, frantic days of the Third Reich. Picture the scene, in April and May 1945, as the Reich collapsed, SS convoys crept up the narrow mountain road at night. Sealed metal boxes the size of coffins were loaded onto small boats, rowed to the deepest part of the lake, over 100 meters in places, and sunk with explosives so that no Allied or Soviet soldier would ever find them. That is the legend. Over the decades, dozens of expeditions, some official, many clandestine, have tried to uncover the truth. Divers have died in those black, icy waters, visibility drops to zero below 20 meters, and the lake bed is a maze of fallen trees. What has actually been recovered? Millions of near-perfect counterfeit British pounds from Operation Bernhard. The original printing plates and machinery used to forge them. Crates of ammunition, rockets, and experimental weapons. Forged documents and Reichsbank records. But never, officially, the fabled gold, the lists of secret Swiss accounts, or the files that could rewrite the final chapter of Nazi looting. Some believe the most valuable boxes were deliberately sunk into the thick layer, false bottom, of centuries-old rotting logs that defeats even modern sonar. Others say the SS returned in the 1950s under false identities and retrieved the real prize long ago. There are stranger tales too, unexplained glowing lights dancing on the surface at night, compasses spinning wildly in certain areas, divers feeling watched in the darkness below. Locals just shrug and say the mountain doesn't want its secrets disturbed. Today the Austrian government strictly controls diving permits, and the lake has become a living museum of the Reich's dying breath. Every few years a new expedition arrives with million-euro equipment, announces definitive anomalies, and the whole world holds its breath again. Yet the gold, if it was ever there, remains untouched. Lake Toplitz is more than a treasure hunt. It is a chilling reminder of a collapsing empire's last act of greed and desperation, men who had stolen half of Europe trying to bury their plunder in an alpine tomb so deep even time might forget it. The counterfeit money that has been brought up is now worth far more to collectors than its original face value ever was. In the end, the Nazis' fake pounds became real treasure after all. So the search goes on. The lake stays silent, black, and ice-cold. Would you dare dive into those waters for a chance at the lost gold of the Third Reich? And now, what would you say if I told you that during World War II the Allies devised an incredibly bold plan, one that could have changed the entire course of the war? In the midst of desperation and the urgent need to deceive the enemy, a strategy was born that became known as Patton's Ghost Army. But what exactly was this Phantom Army? How did they manage to fool one of the most powerful military machines the world had ever seen? The Ghost Army was not made up of real soldiers. It was a brilliant operation of pure deception, created by the Allies to make the Nazis believe that massive troop movements were happening in one place, while the real fighting was taking place somewhere else entirely.